Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Welcome everyone, this is Mary Scott, and let me introduce you to the gorgeous Lynette Williams. Look at her. Don't you look gorgeous today?
Thank you very much.
The implied is you don't look gorgeous every day, but that blue and your hair, you just look amazing. Do you feel amazing or are you just deeply nervous?
I feel both, but mainly I feel amazing, yes.
That's awesome. And Lynn is, just so you know, Lynn is an online marketer. She is an entrepreneur. She has done some very interesting things in her life. I'm not going to rob her of anything. But today we are going to talk about her personal development journey because that's what this group is all about. And I know she's got some very interesting things. So let's go back to Lynn. Lynn, let's talk personal development. I know you're pretty passionate about it. When was the first time you remember that you thought that personal development was something that you wanted to dig your heels into?
I'm actually a bit of a late bloomer to personal development. I'm a mature lady. I'm a mature lady. I've always been fiercely independent. I've always directed my own path very much. Gone for things that I've identified and then just done anything I needed to do to get there. But I've never actually formally done personal development as such. And I'm talking, podcasts and perhaps courses, to get to know myself and to get to know my reactions and to maybe change some behaviors that might not be serving me. I've never actually done too much of that. I've had a pretty intuitive ability to be able to chuck out what doesn't work and go with things that do work. But I guess really, in all honesty, my real in-depth look at personal development and applying it solely and wholly to me only goes back to about 3 years ago.
Oh, how exciting. 3 years ago, that really, and that's cool. So tell us about that. What was the experience like for you?
Listen, my sister dragged me off to the Gold Coast on the pretext of a weekend in the sun. I live in Melbourne, so it's pretty cold here. It was the middle of winter. And while we were there, she's like, oh, by the way, I've got this conference I need to go to on Saturday. And, I've got a guest ticket, so you may as well come along.
Oh, that was sneaky.
It was sneaky. She knows me very well. I'm quite, adamant about I'm okay. Personal development, other people probably need it. I don't. I'm pretty good. So I went to this conference with my sister and it blew my mind. There were various speakers at this conference that day. There was lots of information that was shared. There was lots of tips and hints about behaviours, some of which I recognised in myself that did not serve you, and ideas and ways of being able to change those. And I was like a lit up little balloon. I was like, oh my God. We came away from there that day and I was like, where have I been?
Under the bushes.
Absolutely.
What was the one thing, Lynn, from that day? What was the one thing where you had either an aha moment or something that you said, oh, I'm going to do that and apply that? Either of those.
The one thing, set a goal, take the action and move towards it, and you will get there so much quicker than if you've got, oh, I think I'll do this, and you do a bit of airy-fairy over here and a bit of airy-fairy over there. The plan, make the plan, set the action, go for the goal. Seriously, you just get there like that.
How interesting. And let me ask you this then, even though that experience was 3 years ago,
yep,
you've been a businesswoman for a while, you've had jobs, you've had your own businesses.
Yep.
Do you think there's been any personal development in that over a couple of years? You're a young chick like me. You know, is there anything you can relate to if you look back a little bit, you know, just retrospectively? Is there anything that stands out of things that you learnt because you had an inquiring mind?
Having the inquiring mind. And I think that started for me at a young age. I struggled to read and write. I went to a small school in New Zealand with 8 pupils. I had an amazing teacher who lit me on fire that you can learn and do anything. Anything you decide to do, if you can read and write, you can do anything. And he set my path on that, and I've been doing it ever since. You know, I left school at 15. I went to work in a laundry. I worked out pretty quick it was hard work and I wasn't going to make much money and I was going to really have a hard life doing it. So I decided I was not going to do this for the rest of my life. I needed to have a job in an office with air conditioning that earned me money that I could live a better life. I could afford the things I wanted.
That was the criteria, was it?
That was the criteria. So then I went to night school. I networked for people. I had a girlfriend who worked on a reception who was doing a telephonist in the old days, the old plug board.
Oh, I remember them. They were fun because if you plugged into the wrong one, you were talking to someone you shouldn't have been.
Yeah. They were great for gossip.
They were dangerous, but yes, I know what you mean. Oh, that's funny.
So I used to go there in my lunch hour, and with that, I learned how to do that. And then I decided, right, I need to work in an office. That looks to be a pretty good position. You get to wear nice clothes, you're in air conditioning, all those things. So I just basically put a profile together of who I was, and I went into an agency and I convinced them that I knew.
Let me ask you something, because I don't want to miss this moment. You had a teacher in an 8 pupil school, is that what you said?
Yeah.
That told you from an early age you could do anything you like. Is that what you said?
Yep.
And here you are a few years later telling us that. What an impact. How wonderful as a child to be told that. Is that something that you would repeat to young children?
Look, I already have. My son is a very successful businessman at 30, you know, with a major business, and he was dyslexic, couldn't read and write like me. I fought very hard. To this day, he still does not read or write quickly. He can do it. So he's found workarounds. He has an EA who records everything he needs. He loves to drive a truck. He runs his office from a truck. And, you know, I brought him up that way. You want it, you just have to go get it. He wanted to be a truck driver. He now has a trucking company with 12 vehicles,
wow,
you know, and major contracts.
That is so exciting. And look, if you're a teacher out there, listen to this. I know we've got some teachers in this group. What an impact that made. And here you are passing it on to your son, another generation, the power of the spoken word. And not only that, there must have been something about how that teacher told you that you took it on board, you implemented it, and you integrated in your life. And oh, that's amazing.
It was with passion. It was absolutely with passion. I've had a lot of dealings over my years with my son and myself with people that are in a position to teach you things. And, you know, unfortunately in our system, which is a whole nother area, but in our system, we have people that have a job. And then we have the ones that have passion. My son was very lucky. He found at about age 10, a teacher that had a passion for teaching. She gelled with him, and to this day, he still talks to her. She's long retired now. If Mr. Henderson was still alive, he would still be my mentor. You know,
he'd be your superhero, Mr. Henderson. Wouldn't he? Isn't that funny, Mr. Henderson?
And I wasn't the only one in the school. Like, this was absolute back of beyond, backcountry, nobody, my mother never went to high school. Her brothers and sisters, they had to choose one to go to high school. This is where education was not held, or couldn't be afforded for one, but wasn't held in great esteem. Your education was life, get a job, make some money, feed a family.
Wow. And let me ask you this then. Do you think personal development then is available to everyone? Is it totally inclusive? It doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, who your parents are, who your carers are, etc., etc. Do you think that most people get that? Because you're talking about education. I'm just expanding it now to personal development.
No, I don't, which is unfortunate. I don't think I think it's available to everyone. I think you have to be shown or pointed in the direction at a young age. If I knew now what I've learned in the last 3 years, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, my feelings of success and where my life has gone would have been a completely different path. It's not that I think I don't have a successful life currently, and I have the opportunity to make it as successful as I like with what I have, and I have the ability to get the information to do that now and change, wherever I want to go, but it would have been quicker. And it wouldn't have been so painful. It wouldn't have been such a long, drawn-out journey. So I am passionate about anyone that goes on a journey of learning something, anything, to take them to a better place where they want to go. And we all have our challenges, of course. I have so much encouragement for that. I think we're lucky when we come across someone early on in the piece that puts something in front of us that lights our fire and creates the lifelong journey of learning. That's all personal development is. It's learning about yourself. It's learning about ways to do things. It's learning about, challenges, how you can deal with them better. We all seek, I believe, and I certainly do, happiness. Happiness comes in many forms. Generally, it's success. Generally, if we have money, we have the freedom to be able to create a bit more success for ourselves, and therefore a little more happiness, a little more peace, a little more whatever. But it's an ongoing journey. It's not just okay, I learned this, pop that away, let's go.
That's right. Isn't that funny, what you're saying? It sounds so simple. Like when you were talking before about, more or less decide what you want to do, go on the journey, blah, blah, blah. But then you said something about it. Did you say it was painful, or did you say it was hard?
It was hard. It was a hard and long
Why was
journey.
it hard, do you think?
Because I didn't recognize in myself the things or what I was doing, the things that were moving me forward. So I had more challenges than I needed to have. I basically took the windy road, not the straight road. And I think that's a lot what personal development does for you. The other thing I need to tell you is, and this is purely about me, personal development was almost a dirty word for people that needed help in my book. Okay?
Oh, I love it. This dirty word. When did it change? Was that 3 years ago, or has that been a slow unfolding?
It's been a slow unfolding. It's all about context. Okay. So I have been independent. I've been brought up to be independent. So if you need assistance from someone, then maybe you're not doing it right.
Weakness.
It's like
weakness.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's almost a cultural thing in my family, I might add. So
that's funny.
So you've got to get to a point where you understand about yourselves all those types of things that do hold you back. And I mean, genuinely, it did hold me back. I mean, I would just go dismissive. Okay. It's a bit like, as a child, I was very intuitive about people and who they were and whether they were good and all that type of thing. And I think a lot of us are. And then as I got through life and it got kind of, and I'd be like, oh, you know, I have this feeling about whatever, and whoever was around me, normally an adult, would be like, oh, don't be silly, you know, don't be silly, that could be right. And then ultimately, I guess you kind of give up on that intuition. It's actually taken me a long time to redevelop that, to redevelop feelings about what I think is a good action or a bad action, or a good person or a bad person, or even just a path to take, and trust my own gut instinct. You know, that's the intuition. And so I've had this innate fear of lots of things, which now I understand why. And that's what personal development's given me. And that's recent.
That's I think that's absolutely potent. That is key, what you're saying, isn't it? You know, to not only trust your intuition is what you're saying, but that it actually was innate. That's an interesting word, isn't it? Innate in yourself from an early age. And here we go, trusting adults, you know, like I use that term loosely, trusting adults, then squash that. And now you're allowing it through the development of your own trust and a deeper understanding of yourself through personal development. Have I understood that correctly?
You have. That's exactly it. And, you know, if we can encourage anyone, anywhere, and specifically the young, we have to be careful with them. We have to allow them to develop and encourage them to develop in a way that they can grow, just grow. You know, I have hope for that is happening. I have a lot to do with people of various sorts at the moment, just in my side job that I have. And I have seen, coming out of lockdown, all the detriment. We had a very hard lockdown here in Melbourne, so all the detriment that's come from that. And over the last 12 months, I've seen it develop. And I have a challenge when people get in my car, especially young people, and I talk to people and to get them to feel better about themselves and have something they want to do today, something they're grateful for, something they can just create that little bit of happiness and have them identify it for themselves. I can do it in a 2-minute conversation now.
So you're a teacher,
I am
a mobile teacher of personal development and positive thinking. Does that sound right?
It does sound right, but I think we all are, Mary, and I think it's a responsibility that we have as people to build each other up, build our race up, you know, just make life better for everyone.
I agree, because you make life better for the next person and the next person and the next person. It's like the dominoes, isn't it?
Exactly.
I have a duty to make good and do good and be good. Well, I don't know about be good. I like to be a bit mischievous. I'm pretty sure you do. So here you are, developing yourself, helping other people in a 2-minute conversation to change maybe their negative talk to their positive talk.
Yeah.
How else are you impacting people? We talked about your son. We've talked about these meetings with different types of people that I'm guessing you don't know. How else are you making a difference? I did read something that you could be a person that values purpose. Is that right?
Look, absolutely. I think find your purpose. We all have one. I think we're not asked it enough. I certainly wasn't. And I floundered for a number of years because I didn't have a concrete idea of a purpose. I had the, you know, be good to each other, you know, look after each other, you know, bubble and squeak, really. I didn't have the thing that lit my fire, that was my passion. I do now. I recognized from this conference 3 years ago where I could be of service to others. I'd never had that concept before. It was always what I could do for me that as a byproduct, others might benefit from. It has to be a little deeper than that for me. I think if you can find something that lights the fire, that gives you the purpose of why you're here. And, it can be anything. Like some people, it's various religions. Some people, it's material things. Some people, it's, humanity things, where they can give benefit to others and see it. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. It could be, getting the caterpillar all lined up so that they're all, going to be turning into beautiful butterflies and make a lovely, sky for everyone to enjoy. It doesn't matter. It can be as ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, just find the passion. Find the passion, the thing that gets you up in the morning, thing that keeps you going during the day. Doesn't mean to say you're not going to have moments where, it's not going smooth today.
You talk about service, being of service. This is a new concept for you. Tell me how being of service and personal development comes together, because I believe they come together. Is that your belief as well?
It is my belief. I don't think one goes without the other, to be honest. I certainly, it hasn't for me. I would never thought of the idea of service as giving me any value until I got into personal development. I thought it was volunteers did when they wanted to be do-gooders,
Oh, there's a good distinction, isn't it? Do-gooders as opposed to being of service. Can you? Yes. What's the line between that? I know
being of service is you. It's your expression of who you are. Being service to others so that other people can recognize that you're being of service is not. It's not you. It's for others. It's for how others see you. That's a do-gooder. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a good. That's a good differentiation to make, because I would think, because we talked about dirty words before, I would think being of service could possibly have been a dirty word somewhere back there for other people. Would you say that?
I would say so. Yeah. Yeah. I think, oh, absolutely. I can tell you exactly where it came from. I had around me a lot of people that were Christians, and yet they would step over the person on the street that needed a hand. And I have seen that at times. And so I recognize now exactly where that comes from. But that's the derogatory, like do-gooder, if you like. But that's someone that's doing something to be seen to be doing something. It's not a passion. They're not doing it from their heart. They're doing it as an opportunity to just maybe enhance their social standing or whatever. But it's not from their heart. So if you find you do the service from your heart, there is no expectation at all. It just happens. It's just something that, I guess it's a certain amount of joy for yourself to see it all coming together, but even that's not the expectation that you want. It's just a giving back almost.
That's lovely. And it's similar to what you said before. You said about happiness. Tell me about happiness in your life and why you would seek it. Because I think this is something, I might have picked that up wrong, but I've got the idea that happiness is fundamental for you.
It is. And I guess at one point in my life, I thought happiness was a place you got to. You just got to, and then you sat there. Like, it's quite ridiculous when we think of it like that. Happiness is a state of being that you need to strive and work for the whole time. And that striving and working for it is the happiness. It's not just a state of being. And I've tried to explain this to teenagers. Seriously, I can't even explain it so that I can get the concept properly, but I am trying. Like it's just it's the doingness of the things that make you happy that gives you the happiness. It's not just a destination. if you
You
like.
get there and sit on your laurels and sit back and go, I've got happiness. That's what you mean, right? So it's a daily thing. It's I guess it's a second by second thing. You choose happiness, choose happiness, choose happiness. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And that's what personal development has given me. Before, I always strived to be happy. Now knowing that being happy is not a state. It's an action. It's an ongoing. It's an ongoing thing. It changes from moment to moment, dependent on, what you're doing, what you're striving for, what joy it's bringing you, all those things. It's not static.
I agree. And if I was someone listening today and I was like, well, how do I then choose happiness? Is there one tip you could tell that person or those people that could help them to start to introduce more happiness in their life? Is there one thing that you could say, an action they could take to change their state?
Just get off your butt. Seriously, look at your purpose, decide why you're here, get off your butt. Start moving. Nothing's going to change if you're sitting there. If you're just sitting there waiting to be happy, you have, I believe, you have to have something you're striving for. I don't care what it is. It can be to walk from here to the kitchen and make a cup of coffee. There's something you're striving for every minute of every day. Now just take some action to get you there, and you'll find that things will fall into place. That's your happiness.
So it's internally driven, isn't it? Rather than sit there and waiting for someone else to give you happiness, you're saying
create it.
Comes from within and you create it yourself. Beautifully said. What is the one thing throughout your life that's been a real game changer for you to change direction and do something? Has there been one thing in your life? That's difficult. So I'll give you a minute to think about it. The one thing that's been a big game changer.
Finding that I can learn from others.
Wow. Have you got an example? Grab some more.
Yes, I have an example. Money. I have always had issues around money. And by that, I mean, I've never had enough. I've thought I've never had enough. So I recently did some work around why I think that, just had to think about things in my past, what I'm doing, and decided I actually didn't work it out exactly, but I just decided I'd change the action. Instead of going, no, I don't have enough money, I paid everything. I emptied my bank account.
Just like that. You just emptied your bank account.
I paid everything. I always was like holding on to it. I couldn't pay the power bill because it's not due yet. I've got a week. I can hang on to it for a week and then I can feel like I've got money, right? So I just got rid of it all. There was none in the bank account. And then a few things happened. I had a credit that came back that was a sizable amount of money. I had, actually I had two credits. I had, here in Australia, or Victoria, I had a rebate that came back on the power that was a government, some sort of government incentive or whatever. And then I had money again. And my pay went in, which was, I had a couple of bonuses that had gone in my pay that I didn't even know that I was working for.
How brilliant is that? Changed in a heartbeat.
Changed in a heartbeat. So that's just one, like one of many. Just if you don't, I don't know if I created that in my universe by the actions I took, or I don't know if it just happened by coincidence. But
what do you think, Lynn? I
don't actually care. It's enough for me to know that I changed my action and that was the result. So I'm in. So anything that I have anywhere in my life that I can recognize that I need to change, I'll have a go. I'll have a go at changing it with a result in mind.
It's not a consequence, is it? It's
not a consequence.
Didn't just happen, did it?
No, it didn't just happen.
What do you know about intention? You know, energy follows intent. That's what you're talking about, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it comes down to intuition, right? It comes back to that. I think we're born with a certain amount of abilities. I think somewhere along the line, they disappear. Okay. It's taken me a serious amount of work in the last 3 years to even just be able to imagine in a picture in my head a goal. I had shut down so much over the years that I couldn't actually get my own imagination of a picture of something. And I'll give you an example. A Jeep Cherokee to tow my caravan. I could not get a mental picture of it. So I did the next best thing. I got on the internet, I found a picture, I blew it up, put it up on my wall. That's what I need. Within 3 months, I had it. Black, perfect condition, because I'm a stickler about my car. It's got to be absolutely immaculate. I found a lady driver who had it for 3 years, and you would not know it wasn't a brand new car.
Wow, how exciting is that? So visualization, you taught yourself. Now, let me just track back a bit. I was going to say something about that. Do you think that was stolen from you? Do you think as a child imagination you had it, or do you believe that you never had it? Tell me more about that. I believe I had it.
I believe I had it. I believe I gave it away.
Oh, it wasn't stolen from you. You gave it away.
I gave it away. I gave it away. Not entirely, because I can get it back, because I can do anything, remember?
That's okay. Right.
But I had to recognize that I had it once and I no longer had it now, in order to be able to do something to get it back. Work on it. So again, it comes down to take an action, do the recognition, take an action, get off your butt, and things will happen.
That's fantastic. So if I'm not someone who can visualize, get a picture. Get a picture. Yeah. What else?
Yep. Borrow other people's pictures if you need to, or their persona. I wanted to be a girl in an office. This is when I was young, a girl in an office sitting in air conditioning with lovely nails, and type away and be la-di-da and wear nice clothes, and not be the girl in the factory sweating, who can't barely afford bus fare. So I got the picture of my friend who was doing that. And I just knew that's where I was going to go. So I borrowed her persona, her whole persona, to visualize what I wanted to create for me. And then I worked on it. I took action, several of them, to get there.
I love that. That is beautifully said. So you borrowed your friend's persona, her whole look, image, nails, and then you started to be that within yourself. Is that what you said?
That's exactly what I did, yes.
That is very, very cool. And where did that take you? I've got to ask that.
That took me to a lifelong career. By the time I retired from administration, I was EA to 3 senior partners in one of the top big 4 accountancy firms in Melbourne. It took me into a world of balls and dinners and, talking to people and dealing with people that, as a little country girl, my vocabulary wasn't acceptable in that type of environment and all of that. I grew. I learned and I grew with the vision in mind that was where I wanted to go. So from that first temp job that I got as plug and play with the telephones, my path was set, but I set it. I worked hard. I took opportunities. I networked. I moved to the next job up from there. I took a path. Again, it's all about actions. I had to do some things in between, go to courses and whatever, to become skilled enough to be able to do that. But that's where I got to. And that was actually the vision I had when I first started, or decided I was going to get out of a factory and into an office.
So you've been doing personal development for years. See, what you describe is a beautiful, beautiful thing, isn't it? That you took this on, you decided, you were purposeful, you had a passion, you didn't want to be in that job with the sweat and all of that stuff. You wanted to be air conditioned. I love that word la-di-da. I don't hear that very often. I love that word la-di-da. I had an auntie, her name was Auntie Ruby, and she was the epitome of la-di-da. So thank you for that little treasure of a moment that you took me to. But I love what you're saying. And so now it's been fully enhanced with your deeper understanding of personal development, but you've been doing it for years.
I have, yeah.
That is absolutely brilliant. My goodness, I just looked at the time. Look, what a pleasure. I've learnt some pretty gutsy things about you, courageous things about your journey, and I hope that you've had some fun today. If someone was watching this and they were wondering, is it a worthy thing? Well, if they've watched the whole lot, they'll know the answer. But what would you tell someone that's sitting in this group, not contributing, not feeling that they're good enough to put their point of view, their perspective forward? What would you say to them today, Lynn?
We all have something to give, for one. Everyone's good enough. Everyone's good enough. I came from nowhere. I came from what was considered nowhere, the backwaters. I'm not professional by any means. I'm working in a field in my business that's quite professional, but I just need people like me. That's who I want to mentor. I want to, people with a little bit of passion about what they want to do, and I can help take them wherever they want to go. Anyone can do that. Just be you. It's taken me a long time to just be me. I've put on a whole persona for a lot of different reasons. And I think just be authentic, be you. No one cares. Seriously, there is no judgment out there that can affect you.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, thank you for showing you to me. It's a privilege. And I want to thank you so much for participating with such full-heartedness, Lynn.
Thank you for the invitation, Mary. I've appreciated it. And you've made me think about some things that I hadn't thought about before in probably a more formal context. I'm a bit wishy-washy sometimes, but, you've made me understand some of the journey that I've come on that even I can congratulate myself on. And I think we all...
Yes, do that. Right hand up, right hand down,
Yeah. I think we all have the opportunity to do that, and we don't do it often enough, maybe.
Maybe that's true. Well, thanks for your contribution. This is Mary Scott. Today's guest has been Lynette Williams, entrepreneur, deeply passionate woman, has been doing personal development from a very young age when she was told she could do anything she liked and be anything. And she is proving that is absolutely true. Lynn, I will see you very soon. Everyone else, take good care. See you next week. You know everybody. Who our guest will be. Bye-bye.
This week's episode has come to an end. But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like